It's just always been about trying to affect positive change by supporting the people who are around me, the people who make up the team, so to speak. And if I had to kind of point to three things, maybe, um, I would say commitment, I would say confidence, and I would say sincerity. There is something beautiful about having a core principle to which you can commit and pour everything into your efforts to achieve whatever that core principle is. And when I talk about commitment, I'm really talking about the two things that you have complete control over: your attitude and your effort. Okay. Attitude and effort oftentimes can outpace talent. Okay. And the way you would measure one's commitment is look at your attitude about whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, your attitude about the people with whom you work, your attitude about the work that you want to do, and the amount of effort that you're willing to put into it. And the commitment that I'm talking about is a lot of us, we say we want it, but we just kind of want it. We don't want it more than we want to be on social media. We don't want it more than we want to be on the phone. We don't want it more than to hang out with our friends. We don't want it more than getting, 8 to 9 hours of sleep and laying in bed all day.
As young leaders, if we are committed, we must take many roles. So with that said, how do you maintain a balance in the commitment you have for all of your roles?
One could argue that in terms of a balanced life or balancing commitments, one could say that Martin Luther King Jr. probably didn't do that. But he had a laser focus on the agenda, what needed to be done, and he was willing to do whatever it took to achieve that. And I would argue that many great women and men who have achieved notable things have that about them. A single-minded, where this has to get done, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be willing. Like I said, a lot of times, it's not about, again, the talent or the intelligence, it's the willingness to do what the next guy or the next woman won't do.
Could you compare the activism from the Black Lives Matter movement to the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s? And do you see, and what similarities and differences can you see from it? And how can we use each of those differences to organize more movements in the near future?
That's a good question. I would say one of the things that I find very interesting or a similarity that encourages me is that I would say largely, in my view, they were both largely actually interracial movements, that you saw people from different, probably even more so now than back then, but you saw people of all, stripes, shades out there marching. I think that, and this may not be a popular sentiment, but my reading of history, you don't have the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 64, the Voting Rights Act in 65, Civil Rights Act in 68, Voting Rights Act in 65. You don't have that without broad support. You don't have that without an interracial coalition. This doesn't have just strictly from the numbers.